Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to begin by welcoming newly elected Councillor Danny Person to the Chamber. Item 1 on our agenda, apologies for absence.
Chair, Councillors Wilkinson and Ford.
Steward's declaration of respect of item 3, section 106 of the Local Government Finance Act 1992. I will not be voting on any of the issues with relevance to the council tax. But I will reserve the right to talk on the debate.
Level 3 in the rules of debate. A couple of questions about this budget. The first question, Mr. Chairman, would be, given the recent meeting between Rodney Bass and the leader of the council, I believe the actual cost of turning the lights on is more than has been budgeted for. Can the portfolio holder confirm to us how much more it is to turn the lights on?
Yes, it's slightly more, but we can actually take care of that as a one-off from reserves and then obviously budget them in the next year. But it's only a tiny amount over the
About £21,000 over the £100,000, which is not a tiny amount, it's about 1/5. Given that, is he suggesting that he's finding this saving from reserves, or does he now admit that he could have accepted some of our savings to make the budget cost neutral?
we actually get the bill, but if in fact Essex are allowing us to turn them on from the 1st of April, that would be very, very useful indeed. If the full cost of that is £121,000, we will find the other £21,000.
Any other questions in relation to this item? In which case we will move to the vote, which, as indicated at our last meeting, in accordance with the new legislation, is a recorded vote, and I will ask for Brian Keane to call out each.
Councillors would say for, against, but abstain as I read their name. Councillor Beckett.
For.
Councillor Simon Carter.
Against.
Councillor Joel Charles.
Against.
Councillor Churchill.
Against.
Councillor Clark.
For.
Councillor Klempner.
For.
Councillor Cross.
For.
Councillor Danvers.
For.
Councillor Doku.
For.
Councillor Doyle.
Against.
Councillor Durkin.
For.
Councillor Hall.
Abstain.
Councillor Holcoop.
For.
Councillor Andrew Johnson.
Against.
Councillor Eddie Johnson.
Against.
Councillor Jollies.
Against.
Councillor Livings.
Against.
Councillor Long.
Against.
Councillor McCabe.
For.
Councillor Odell.
For.
Councillor Paling.
Against.
Councillor Palmer.
For.
Councillor Perrin.
Against.
Councillor Purton.
For.
Councillor Spooner.
Against.
Councillor Stevens.
For.
Councillor Toll.
For.
Councillor Truan.
For.
Councillor Waite.
For. The results of the vote is 16 for, 12 against, no recorded abstentions. I beg your pardon, sorry. One abstention. One recorded abstention. The motion is carried. We move on to item 4, reports from officers. I hope that it will be clear that the papers sent out initially have now been superseded by the supplementary report to the Special Counsel. I hope that everyone has got a copy of this. So if I can draw your attention to the supplementary report, and hopefully this is fairly straightforward. I want to begin by asking the UKIP group for their nomination for the Development Management Committee.
Mr. Chairman, I will be standing on the Development Management Committee.
Thank you, Councillor Pryor. I would like to call for the UKIP nomination for the Harlow Fairness and Diversity Partnership Committee.
Mr. Chairman, again, I will be standing on that committee.
Thank you, Councillor Pryor. Councillor Pryor will be standing down as a member of the Licensing Committee, and I would like to call upon the Conservative Group to advise us of their replacement.
Nominate Councillor Perry.
Can I ask that those nominations are agreed? Agreed. Thank you. There are no matters of urgent business. I'm therefore happy to say that the Special Council is concluded. We will take a 1 or 2 minute break, and then I will hand over to the Chair of Cabinet to commence their meeting.
Right, item 2 on the agenda, declarations of interest. There are none. Item 3, so the minutes on page 1 to 9 and the supplementary with questions from Cabinet. Are those agreed? Agreed. Any matters arising? None. Written questions from the public. There are 4. Mr. Holmes.
Concerns about the actions of police in respect of travellers. Will you withhold the police authority element of council tax until the travellers uphold the legal laws of this country?
Harlow Council is the billing authority for Harlow and hence has by law to collect the council tax for all precepting authorities, including Essex County Council, police and fire. There is no mechanism in law for Harlow Council to withhold elements of the council tax set by those authorities. It is also worth noting that council tax forms a relatively small proportion of funding available to support bodies.
Could the leader explain why he has taken no action against councillors that have fully supported the illegal action of travellers?
That's the question. But it just, I'm not aware of any councillors that supported the legal action. Your second question, Mr. Hayes.
Of people who signed the petition to put street light backs on the streets between 1 AM and 5 AM.
Proportion of people who signed the petition or participated in the Essex-wide survey on feeling for safety, who regularly or occasionally are out after midnight, or have friends or relatives who are. Regardless whether they're out or in their own home, it is clear that people feel less safe with park night lighting.
Council to debate on the council tax. The proposed elements of council tax put forward by the Conservatives was laughed at out of hand as being an unsustainable budget. We've heard tonight that putting lights back are going to cost this council more than what was in the budget. How can this take place if you mock other councillors putting proposals to a more realistic
Question. But I didn't mock anything, and as you'll have heard from full council, while the final figure has yet to be agreed with Essex County Council, as has Essex's agreement in principle, which I am chasing with the leader of Essex County Council as we speak, I am confident that the amount we will end up with will be containable within the existing budget as set by full council. Item 6, written questions from council.
What proportion of the clean-up costs of the illegal unauthorised encampments have been levied against the occupants of the encampments?
Action against any persons who dispose of rubbish on council land, irrespective of whether they are from the settled or non-settled community. However, for the council to successfully pursue this, there must also be a named perpetrator and a witness willing to testify. The council has also to balance whether it will be successful in pursuing the case and recovering its costs. This is often more difficult where the true identity of the perpetrator is not forthcoming. And the specific £79 being charged to members of the non-settled community against expenditure for clean-up costs of £26,905.46.
Is, given that the evidential proof required in a civil court is on the balance of probabilities rather than beyond reasonable doubt, and may not need a named perpetrator and or witnesses, how many civil cases has the council launched to recover our costs, either directly against individuals in relation to litter and other matter deposited on council land, or against their vehicle insurers in relation to damage to the council's highway, footpath and green areas?
The council will always take action, regardless of who the perpetrators are, where there is evidence to secure that. So that's none.
Join me in congratulating the government on following that since 2010 the number of people seeking job seekers allowance in Harlow has fallen to fewer than 763 people, and that the number of people seeking job seekers allowance has fallen by half, and that youth unemployment has fallen further by 60%, and the number of people, young people on apprenticeships is up by 106%, and in total 76% of all the new jobs created in Harlow are full-time.
The action that's going on in the enterprise zone, which is our collaboration between government, Harlow Council, Essex County Council, private sector, which is creating jobs in Harlow, is clearly very welcome. What is less welcome, however, is the increase in part-time jobs, the significant increase in zero-hours contracts, low pay, and these things clearly need to be addressed. There are no petitions. Item 8 on the agenda, the forward plan, which is actually on page 9 and page 10.
Page 12 of the forward plan, local development planning emerging strategy. Again, there is a delay due to ongoing talks regarding duty to cooperate discussions. Would it be possible if the leader would write to all councillors, just with a note spelling out the ongoing issues with this? There are, of course, legal and planning implications to this delay on the local development plan, and we'd be very keen, I think, all councillors to understand what's going on with these.
Quite a lengthy process, including a significant evidence base that is evolving, and clearly the experience with Huddersfield Council has submitted their local plan, which was basically thrown out due to these issues. We are having regular and ongoing conversations, particularly with East Herts and the Forest District Councils around duty to cooperate, and we have our next meeting on Monday. But I'll happily submit a note in terms of the process. Yep. So noted. Right, item 9.
I'd just like to make a comment, if I may, please. I'm very happy with the 6 months extension of funding from Essex County Council for Sam's Place, while a single lead provider for short breaks for disabled children across Essex is identified. Sam's Place does a wonderful job, and we really can't let that go. Thank you.
Chair. Just a brief comment on Sam's Place. This, I think, is welcomed by all parties. Certainly, when we were in administration, we worked, Councillor Andrew Johnson and I worked with Sam's Place to ensure that the Thursday respite care in the evenings would continue. The families are a passionate group who deserve our support, all councillors in this chamber. For me, I welcome the fact that Essex County Council has extended this window of 6 months, and I think that people like, for example, Lynn Seward, who's one of the founding members of Sam's Place and a leading and prominent member of the officer corps before she retired, would welcome something like this because it helps young disabled children, which I think crosses political boundaries, and we all support.
Noted. Item 10, the review of cabinet appointments, which is in the supplementary. And I will second it.
Can I just point out that I've received a supplementary receiver's because of the retirement of a councillor. I've received the following information after consultation with the UK group leader. Following councillors have been nominated to fill vacant seats as indicated in the report submitted. Local Development Plan Panel, Councillor Dan Long, and the Involvement Standards Panel, Councillor Janet Doyle. I so moved.
All agree?
Yeah.
11 on the agenda, the contract awards, housing external works, rather, starting on page 19, page 20.
The importance of this as an item, there's £50 million on external works over the next 8 years. It's really important that we as a council tackle fuel poverty and we make our homes as energy efficient as possible. That's something that is really important in terms of lowering bills, the fuel bills of people, of our tenants. So going forward, this will include windows, wall finishes, insulation, and so on. But it's really important that we do try and tackle the external components of homes. The early part of the Modern Works programme is all about internal mainly. This is all about the external parts of homes. So I'd like to recommend this and also thank officers for putting together this report.
Any questions, comments? Are we agreed with the recommendation on page 19? Agreed. Agreed. Item 12, the council tax discretionary reduction in liability policy and local non-investment rate conditional release policy, starting on page 24.
I moved this chair serious error. Although it's only a decimal point on page 39. Under 2016-17, it couldn't be 1.25, it's 425. So that should be changed. Other than that, really, the government's actually taken this away just slightly earlier than expected. But I'm sure it can be dealt with. Thank you.
Chair, the Conservative group supports the Local Governments Association's campaign to reduce council tax bills for voluntary workers, special constables and army reservists. Councils across the country are using the powers that are spelt out in the discretionary reduction paper that's before us to do this. Now, these individuals do a lot of community work and work for our country, but I would also look at extending council tax relief for army personnel that are actually on active service abroad. I think all councillors would welcome something like this, because these individuals pay a significant price, particularly when they're abroad fighting for our country, and those who give up their time in the community. These are people that are important to our community, and they're people that we should celebrate. So I would urge this council to follow the Local Government Association and other councils across this country who are doing this.
Councillor Charles might drop me an email about that, but it is ironic that the poorest section of our community have had additional burdens of council tax imposed upon them, to the extent that some of the poorest people cannot even afford to pay the additional amounts of money that have been imposed by the Tory government, to the extent that people have actually been committing suicide, Chairperson. So I welcome some of the compassion that Councillor Charles has expressed, and I wish it would actually be reflected in the Tory government's compassion to people generally, particularly those people on very low income.
I agree, it's disgusting that the lowest earners in our town have now got to pay another 1.99% council tax this year, and the Labour administration is the one that increased it.
It wasn't me, Joe, to be fair.
Which is an average of 7 pence per week for the
Chair, when we're talking about the police precept of about a penny a week, when we're talking about our own precept for about a penny a week to actually get the lights turned on, in those circumstances, are we really seriously saying that people cannot afford a penny a week? And it's interesting that now Councillor Johnson's actually involved in the debate when he wasn't actually at the council meeting. It would have actually been very useful to hear his comments about turning the street lights back on. But unfortunately, he was actually absent from that meeting.
I'm not going to go too heavily on it because we want to come back to this. I imagine I can see the look on your face. Although I would say how confident is Councillor Danders with his actual grasp of figures. It's not 1p, it's 7p. It actually adopted our cut. It would be actually less than 7p, significantly less. I just find the tone a little bit hypocritical, if I may. And I wonder, given his earlier comments tonight about the lights only costing an extra £4,000 when actually cost an extra £21,000, whether in fact he's very well suited to the role of portfolio holder for all resources, seeing as he always seems to be missing the point with the figures.
No, I've got reserves to balance.
If he's, he's always out of reserve, yeah. So, you know, I wasn't going to say much on this report, Chair, but it does seem that every time the portfolio holder for resources mentions anything to do with money, he's always a little bit inaccurate, and that inaccuracy is worrying.
If there are any contributions on this particular item, I will take them, but I really don't want to repeat the remarks I made at the last cabinet meeting about turning this into an extensive general election campaign, and I understand the views on both sides. Councillor Johnson.
Trying to support those members of our armed forces who fight and die for this country, supporting our special constables who go out of their way unpaid to help police our streets and make our streets safer at night and at day, has been rather railroaded there by Councillor Danvers. He started talking about people committing suicide, which I think was an unnecessary thing to bring to this meeting. But I do have to agree with what Councillor Perrin has just said. Councillor Danvers has clearly got it wrong if he thinks that he's only putting council tax up by 1p per week. Now, for many councillors, that wouldn't be an issue, but for the portfolio holder for resources, who's in charge of all of the finances of this council, the difference between 1p a week and 7p a week is quite considerable. And Councillor Danvers, I don't talk over you in committee, so I'd appreciate if you didn't talk over me. You showed complete, and you're still doing it. You show complete disgust to members of the opposition, Councillor Danvers. You show complete disgust to members of my group. You do not listen when we're talking in chamber. You talk over us constantly, and I find that frankly disgusting. I find it disgusting behaviour by a member of the administration, and I find the fact that the council leader lets you get away with it, cabinet after cabinet, disgusting leadership on his part.
Are there any other comments? And I'm going to get a little bit more firm on the nature of those comments on this particular item. No. So, I didn't say I was seconding this report, which I am. So, we vote on the recommendations on page 24, A and B. Are we agreed?
Agree. With the amendments.
Yeah. Mulled over by scrutiny, and they've made their recommendations. And clearly, the telephone response rate is improving enormously. But just on the sort of general matter of performance and quality, could you or somebody tell me whether we do secret shoppers personally and by phone to assess the quality of the response we give to a range of questions?
We have done that historically. I'm not sure it's the current activity going on. I will certainly do that with the relevant officer.
And I can expect a written reply.
Yeah. Any other contributions? So, basically the recommendations on page 42, A and B, are we agreed? Agreed. Right, item 14, to note the minutes of the Housing Standards Board and the Harlow Local Highways Panel. Duly noted. Noted. There being no items of local business, this meeting is now concluded.